The tent was silent except for one sound, the faint rasp of silk tightening around his neck. Şehzade Mustafa struggled, clawing for air, his father watching from behind a curtain. The most beloved prince of the Ottoman Empire was being strangled, not by enemies, but by order of his own father, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. How did a father's love turn into murderous suspicion? He was the perfect prince, the most skilled warrior, the most popular heir, and the pride of the Ottoman Empire. He was the son of his mother's world, the hero of the fearsome Janissary Corps, and the man destined to rule the most powerful empire on earth. So how did Şehzade Mustafa end up here, strangled by mutes on the orders of the one man who should have protected him, his own father, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent? This is the story of how love, jealousy, and whispers in the palace corridors led to the execution of the Ottomans' brightest star. It's a tragedy that shows us a dark truth. In the Game of Thrones, not even a father's love can save you. To understand just how far Mustafa fell, you have to see the heights he reached first. Born in 1515, Şehzade Mustafa was the eldest surviving son of Sultan Suleiman and his first consort, Mahidevran. From a young age, it was clear he was being groomed for greatness. By 18, he was appointed governor of Manisa, a province traditionally given to the heir apparent, which was a clear sign of his father's favor. Mustafa was everything the empire could want in a future sultan. He was a brilliant military commander, a sharp administrator, and a patron of the arts. But more than that, he just had a charisma that won over everyone he met. Ambassadors at the time described him as a prince of remarkable talent. The empire's elite soldiers, the Janissaries, were fiercely loyal to him. They saw a reflection of his father in his prime, a warrior sultan who would lead them to glorious new conquests. To them, he wasn't just another prince, he was their future. In the Ottoman system, any son of the sultan could claim the throne. This open succession was a brutal Darwinian process meant to ensure only the strongest would rule, and it often led to civil war or sanctioned fratricide, the killing of your own brothers. With his immense popularity and proven skill, Mustafa seemed destined to win this deadly race. His mother, Mahidevran, saw her entire world in him. He was her whole joy, and his ascension was her life's purpose. For a while, his path to the throne seemed like a golden road stretching out before him. But in the shadowy halls of Topkapi Palace, a new power was rising, one that would change the course of history and set a devastating tragedy in motion. That change came in the form of a woman named Hurrem Sultan, known in the West as Roxolana. Captured as a slave, she had risen from the anonymous depths of the imperial harem to become Suleiman's favorite and eventually his legal wife, a move that broke with long-standing Ottoman tradition. Hurrem was brilliant, ambitious, and fiercely protective of her own children. She knew that if Mustafa became sultan, the law of fratricide meant her own sons, Selim, Bayezid, and Cihangir, would likely be executed to prevent any challenge to his rule. For Hurrem, Mustafa's very existence was a threat to her children's survival. Her main goal became securing the throne for one of her own sons, and in this she found a powerful and cunning ally, Rustem Pasha. Rustem was a man of great ambition who had climbed the ranks of the court. His marriage to Mihrimah Sultan, the only daughter of Suleiman and Hurrem, cemented his place in the innermost circle of power. As Grand Vizier, he held the second most powerful job in the empire. He saw Mustafa's popularity with the army as a direct threat to his own influence. If Mustafa took the throne, Rustem's career, and maybe even his life, would be over. Together, Hurrem and Rustem allegedly formed a powerful alliance, united by one goal: get rid of Şehzade Mustafa. Their strategy wasn't a direct attack, but a slow, methodical poisoning of the well. They started spinning a web of intrigue, playing on Sultan Suleiman's deepest fears. The Sultan was haunted by the memory of his own father, who had forced his own father from the throne with the army's backing. Suleiman was terrified of history repeating itself, of being overthrown by a popular and ambitious son. And Mustafa was, without a doubt, both. The campaign against Mustafa started quietly. In 1541, he was transferred from the top-tier governorship of Manisa to the more distant province of Amasya. On paper, it was a strategic move to guard the empire's eastern frontier, but everyone knew it was a political demotion. Manisa, the province of the heir, was then given to Hurrem's eldest son, Mehmed. The message was clear. Mustafa was being pushed aside. Every success Mustafa had was twisted and presented to the Sultan as a sign of his dangerous ambition. When he won on the battlefield, it was framed as an attempt to build his own power base. When the Janissaries sang his praises, it was reported to Suleiman as proof that their loyalty was shifting from father to son. A Venetian ambassador at the time noted the rivalry was intense and that Rustem Pasha was actively working to put Hurrem's son, Selim, on the throne. The conspiracy came to a head during the Ottoman campaign against Persia in 1553. According to many historical accounts, this is when Rustem Pasha made his masterstroke. He allegedly had a copy of Mustafa's personal seal forged. Using it, he sent a fake letter to the Shah of Persia, proposing an alliance to overthrow Sultan Suleiman. The Shah, thinking the letter was real, sent a friendly reply. That reply was intercepted, not by Mustafa, but by Rustem's agents. Rustem Pasha then rode to Sultan Suleiman, presenting the Shah's letter as undeniable proof of treason. He painted a terrifying picture. Mustafa was a traitor, working with the empire's greatest enemy, ready to march on the capital with his disloyal Janissaries. It was Suleiman's worst nightmare come true. The aging Sultan, increasingly paranoid and isolated, saw his own father's coup playing out all over again. The love for his son was now buried under the fear for his throne. He believed he was no longer a father dealing with a son, but a sultan facing a rebel. On October 6, 1553, Şehzade Mustafa was summoned to his father's military camp near Konya. His closest friends begged him not to go, warning him it was a trap. But Mustafa refused to believe his father would actually harm him. Confident in his innocence, he rode into the camp, dressed in white to show he had a clear conscience. He left his weapons outside his father's imperial tent, as was tradition, and stepped inside. The outer chambers were strangely quiet. As he entered the final section, he saw his father, Sultan Suleiman, seated. But before he could even speak, he was ambushed. From behind the partitions emerged a team of royal executioners. It was a palace tradition that these men were often mutes, so they could never reveal secrets. They lunged at the prince with a silk cord in their hands, the method reserved for royalty, as it was forbidden to spill their blood. Mustafa, a powerful warrior, fought back hard. For a moment, it looked like he might break free. Some accounts even say that Suleiman, watching from behind a screen, grew impatient and yelled at the executioners to finish it. Finally, they overpowered him. The pride of the Ottoman Empire, the people's hero, was strangled to death in his own father's tent. He was 38 years old. His lifeless body was then placed on a carpet outside for the entire army to see, a grim message to anyone who dared support him. The Golden Prince was dead. The reaction was immediate and furious. When the Janissaries saw the body of their beloved commander, their sorrow turned to pure rage. They stormed towards the Grand Vizier's tent, blaming Rustem Pasha for the murder. A full-blown rebellion was about to explode. To calm the army, Suleiman was forced to make a sacrifice. That same day, he stripped Rustem Pasha of his title and sent him away, a public nod to who the soldiers blamed. The tragedy tore through the royal family. Mustafa's younger half-brother, Cihangir, who was born with a physical disability but adored Mustafa, was already frail from chronic illness. He was so devastated by the execution that he died just a few weeks later. The entire empire mourned. One poet captured the public's anger in an elegy, calling the execution a great injustice and blaming the trick of Rustem. One man even started a rebellion claiming to be the lost prince, gathering thousands of followers before he was stopped. Mustafa's death didn't bring the stability Suleiman wanted. After Hurrem Sultan died in 1558, her two remaining sons, Selim and Bayezid, plunged the empire into the very civil war the law of fratricide was supposed to prevent. Suleiman was forced to choose, ultimately ordering the execution of another son, Bayezid, along with his 4 grandsons. Of all his brilliant sons, the only one left to inherit the throne was Selim, a prince who would be remembered not for his magnificence but for his drinking. The story of Mustafa is a brutal reminder that in the high-stakes world of power, even the deepest family bonds can be broken. If you think history's forgotten dramas are as fascinating as we do, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more stories of power and betrayal. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent ruled for another 13 years, but many historians say he was never the same. He had secured his throne, but he'd lost his own bloodline and perhaps a piece of his soul. He executed the son who was most like him, the son who was loved by the people, and the son who might have led the Ottoman Empire to even greater heights. The execution of Şehzade Mustafa remains one of the most painful chapters in Ottoman history. Was he an innocent victim of a palace plot, or a real threat to his father's rule? The full truth is probably buried somewhere in between. What we know for sure is that his death became a symbol of the dark side of absolute power, a cautionary tale whispered through the centuries, and a permanent stain on the otherwise magnificent reign of Sultan Suleiman. In the end, the Sultan may have held the empire, but he was haunted by the ghost of the son he killed.